Sharkfishing 101. So before we talk about what shark fishing is, we have to set some rules. When I talk about shark fishing, I talk about the shark tank. So who of you knows what is Shark Tank? Hands up so that I can see. Okay, so Shark Tank is a television show where entrepreneurs pitch their business ideas to investors, and they want to get some investment in exchange for an equity stake in their business. So it's not that complicated, it's very easy. Startups want to get money from the investors, and investors want to eat the sharks, also the startups, because they just think this is a cheap way for them to get a lot of business stake. My name is Hofmacher, and today I'm going to tell you a lot about where I live, what kinds of sports I love, what kind of sports I do, where I studied, that I work at an awesome startup called checkmypitch, what books I love, what I love to eat. No, I'm just kidding. I only want to tell you why I'm doing this. First, I think I've been to 6 times to this meetup, and I really loved it, and I wanted to give something back. And I thought the best way for me to do this is to hold my own keynote. And I choose the topic pitching because at my startup we focus on pitching. And what else is important for me is that everyone has his own comfort zone. A comfort zone is the place where everyone can perform at his best level. For most of us, our comfort zone looks like this. But imagine you sit on your couch, you can talk about everything. You can do every presentation as good as nowhere else. But imagine you're on a big stage like this, or even the Burgtheater or whatever. It's going to get very difficult for you. And comfort zone challenges are things that you can do that put you out of your comfort zone. So doing things you don't feel happy about doing because it's difficult for you. And so for me, I think public speaking always was something for me that I struggled, because all of my friends went to acting classes when we were in middle school, and I didn't do this because I was too afraid to speak in front of a group. And so I figured out for myself I have to do this much more often to improve myself and someday get as awesome as this guy. He's called Daniel Gröning. He's kind of the godfather of pitching. He pitches, I think, his keynote 3 times a week, and every time he do this, he takes some picture like this, and that's exactly what I want to do because he's a friend of mine and I promised him to do this myself. So please everybody, give him a smile. I have something for you. Okay, thank you. Let's get started. I'm sorry. I told you before, there's Shark Tank. This is this investment television series from America. But there's also a similar edition in Canada and the United Kingdom. There is called Dragon's Den, and in Germany it's called Die Höhle der Löwen, or the Cave of the Lions. And in Austria we call it 2 minutes, 2 million. So you see, in Austria everything is a little bit different. Okay, why did the Shark Tank get so awesome? It's called the Shark Tank effect. This is, now I explain you why this can go so big. There's the Groove Book. Someone of you have heard of Groove Book already? It's, every one of us has a smartphone, and everyone taking hundreds of thousands pictures each month. And with Groove Book, you are able to get your pictures printed ready to your home every month. So all you do at the end of the month, you select your pictures, and then you get it delivered to your home. And so you can save your pictures. You don't only have it on your phone, you also can put it on the wall. And so what does this have to do with Shark Tank? Shark Tank has a big TV audience, and everyone who gets on the Shark Tank can benefit from it. For example, Groove Book had about 16,000 subscribers within 8 months. Then they went to the Shark Tank, and after the television show aired, they made 50,000 subscribers in 2 days. So it's pretty awesome. So how does this work? When you get an investment from a shark, you get 3 things. First, you get the money. For sure, money always helps a business to jumpstart. Second thing, you get a big network. You can use their network for literally everything. A good investor can kick you some doors in everywhere in the world. And the third thing is the television audience. When you go on to the Shark Tank, when your episode airs, you have about 8.5 million television viewers. And according to Variety magazine, a pitch on Shark Tank, which is 12 minutes long, is worth over $2.8 million. So which startup is able to spend 2.8 million on television advertising? I think no one. And this is only for the first time the show airs. The show runs in television about 4 to 5 times on different channels. But also if you're at the Shark Tank and you don't get an investment, you can succeed. For example, this is the Doorbot. The Doorbot is a smart device for your house. They went to the Shark Tank, they didn't get an investment, but after the show aired, they get an investment from another venture capitalist, and they sold 10,000 of these units within 2 weeks. So why shouldn't everyone go to the Shark Tank? Because, yeah, it's kind of a jump start for every business, because it's fucking hard. About 300,000 startups applied, and only 500 get accepted to the Shark Tank. If you want to get accepted, you have to go through a 7-stage program. First you have to apply online, then you have to send in a pitch video, then you have to meet and pitch one of the guys there, and so on and so on. Yeah, and now before we really go onto the pitching part, I tell you some secrets you might not know about Shark Tank. Imagine you're at the show and you shoot your video and you get an investment from the shark, so on television. You don't know if you will be on television. This means something like you go to the studio, they shoot everything, and you secure your deal. And then 8 months later, the television show started, and the first episode runs, and you don't know if you're on the show or not. And the second one, and the third, and you turn a little bit worried, and you try to call them, and no one can tell you something. And then one day you get the call saying to you, in 5 days your show will be on television. And then you have to prepare. Imagine every business has its own homepage. How much traffic or how much users does any one of you has on his homepage? Give me some numbers. Someone. About 1,000, 2,000, 5,000 a month, maybe 10,000. Okay, but when you are on Shark Tank, your business is exposed to 8.5 million people, and you can get up to 1 million users in 10 minutes. And so, yeah, normal homepages won't survive with this. For example, your stock, you can't produce more stock because you will be sold out. So you only have 5 days to prepare for this. What I also want you to remember is only 50% of the deals that are made in television really happen. Because when the investor says, okay, let's have a deal, it's not sure that this deal really happens. Because most of the times, in the after negotiations, there are things happen like we have to relocate the business and the entrepreneurs don't want to leave the family, or some special terms. And attending the Shark Tank wasn't always free. In the early stages, in the first 3 seasons, when you walked to the stage and you pitched your business, you had to give away 2% of all your following sales to the producer of the television audio, no matter if you get a deal or not. This changed after the 3rd season because one of the investors said, hey, stop it, that's not fair, let's make it fair, will you please remove this, or I will no longer be on this television show. Okay, let's get ready, set, go, and let's come direct to what's pitching all about. First, I want you to tell how a perfect pitch should look like. And here's the sad news, there is no perfect pitch. Imagine I pitch in front of you guys, I have to do another pitch, then I pitch 5 investors, or I pitch my grandmother. This has something to do with always knowing your audience, because you have to have specific pitches to each situation. In an investor pitch, you talk about all your numbers, but when I want to get you all as my customers, I tell you why my business is awesome, and I don't tell you how much money I make, because you always have to decide who's the one you're talking to. And also, the next big thing is you always have to know your audience. I checked up on Michael's meetup site who's going to be here in this audience. So I think I'll be a little bit prepared. Imagine you're trying to pitch Snapchat to you guys. I can say, yeah, it's an app where you take a selfie and you send to your friends. This would be easy, but explaining my grandmother what Snapchat is, she would say, moment, what's an app, what's a selfie? So always be very prepared. And now we're really getting to pitching, but before I show you the pitch of this groove book, which, yeah, is this, wait a moment. I have to wait for the sound.
For 20% of our company, Groovebook. Billions of photos are taken every day from smartphones. Who doesn't have a phone with hundreds, if not thousands of photos? What do people do with all the photos they've taken? Absolutely nothing. For just $2.99 a month, including shipping and handling, the Groovebook app allows you to choose up to 100 photos every month from your smartphone and create a beautiful bound photo book in just minutes. Each month, your Groovebook gets delivered to you with an exciting new cover. Your photos are automatically stamped with the date and location, so you will never forget. They're perforated for easy removal, and 4x6, which is the perfect size for framing and sharing. Who is that? Is it you? Why it is? Aww. You got hair? I've never seen you with hair. Groovebook will save you time and money from printing out your photos at the store and drawing cartridges at home. Forget those expensive photo books. They'll take you hours online and then charge you an arm and a leg for printing and shipping. Groovebook is the answer. So which one of you sharks is ready to get your groove on? With Groovebook! Watch this.
Okay. I can tell you one more thing to this company. After it got the investment, it didn't continue very long because I think after half a year after the investment, it got sold for $14.5 million. Company overall wasn't 2.5 years, I think, wasn't much older. So now you have seen the typical pitch, how it happened in the Shark Tank. And the first thing is the intro, the second part always the request, followed by a one-liner, which doesn't have to be always the case, but for sure I tell you later why it's so good. The fourth part is the problem or the need, followed by the solution, then the current level at which the startup is, and last but not least, always using call to action. And this all is followed by a Q&A. I didn't mention this in the video because it takes about 8 minutes, but Q&A is the part where the sharks can ask you all they want to know. And yeah, if you see, we haven't, in this 7 steps, we don't ever talk about the competition or the market size. Please keep in mind, you don't have to talk about your whole business in the pitch. But this is the important part, because all you have to do in the pitch is lure some sharks to be interested in you. If they are interested, they are willing to ask all you ever can imagine of. So the first thing, this is the intro. This is where the entrepreneur normally says, "Hi, my part is Philip, and I'm the CEO of whatever company." Here are 2 things important. The first thing is always look self-confident. These 2 guys, I think everyone would choose the one on the left side. Second part, what to wear. When pitching an investor, most of the people think they have to be completely suited up. This is not 100% true. You have to wear something that fits with you and your business. For example, if you are a startup in corporate banking, for sure, please wear your most expensive suit. But for example, if you're making parties for kids, even there a clown costume on the stage would outperform a suit. The next thing is the request, and this is, I promise, this is the only part where we have to do a little bit of math. So when the entrepreneur says, "I'm seeking $60,000 in exchange for 15% equity stake of my business," what's the total valuation of the business? Any guesses? He's right. It's pretty simple. All you have to do is you divide the number of money you're seeking with the total equity you are willing to give away. In our case, $60,000 divided with 0.15 for 15% equals a total valuation of $400,000. And this is the important part. From this moment on, the investors see you, they see your business, and they see the valuation of a business. From this moment, you have to defend your valuation. We come back to this in about a minute. The third part is the one-liner. The one-liner is usually at the beginning of the presentation because you want to tell everyone what your business is all about. So the typical one-liner could be Shazam recognizes music, or if even something you can compare yourself with. For example, Uber for space shuttle, or something you do in a different way, like Facebook for blind people. These are 3 things that most of the investors will understand in under a second. And the one-liner is important for you to break the ice, because for sure investors like to be surprised, but what they don't like is if you let them too long in the dark. So for example, if you talk 10 minutes and they still don't know what your business is all about, they will lose interest. The fourth problem is your problem or the need your business is solving. You can start this, for example, with you all know the following situation when you wake up in the morning and you do this and that. This helps the audience to understand what you're talking about. You can say a sentence like, have you ever had this problem? Or you can use if sentence like, what if I could promise you to save yourself 15 minutes each day? And when you talk about the problem, it's also important that you be very short in your explanation, because it's a good problem should be described in under 15. A perfect problem should be described in under 5 seconds. And what's also important for the problem is keep it short and simple, so that everyone can easily understand it. The fourth part of your pitch should be your solution. Here it's important to tell them how it works, but also why you came up with this solution and why you wanted to be the one to solve this problem. In this case, always tell your story. Say, yeah, I woke up in the morning and every day I have this problem and it gets on my nerve every day, and so I decided I have to solve this. But yeah, who knows this guy? He's the CEO of Conda, one of the biggest crowd investing platforms in Austria, and he showed his passion, and passion is the next thing I want to talk about. When you talk about your business, always let them believe that you really, really love your business. He's the CEO of Conda, and I think 2 days ago, he showed everyone how he's into his business. He got his own tattoo. Please, I don't want you to tattoo yourself, but before this I had a picture of Cristiano Ronaldo celebrating a goal, and I thought this is more startup-like. So always find something that you can show everyone how passionate you are about it. When you're up with your problem, always let the investors taste your problem. For example, if you produce a food or a drink, always hand some samples out. They will never invest in a business they've never experienced before. And the fourth thing is from Die Höhle der Löwen, the Lion's Cave. This is the German investment show. The younger guy, he's from Vienna, and he produces skateboards. And he did his background check very good, and he knew that one of the investors was a skateboarder when he was younger. And so all he said is, I could tell you my skateboard is much more awesome than every other one, but please come here, I brought the skateboards, give it a try. And yeah, he secured his deal. And I think the part of letting the investor he wanted to have and knowing the fact that he's also a skateboarder did a big part to this. The sixth thing is the level your startup are right now. And investors also always want to know what's next. Because for you, or for them, you are work. When they invest in you, it comes with a lot of work. You need the help, you need the assistance, and they always want to know how much of their time do they have to spend to bring your business to the next level. They also want to know if your business is going to the right direction. So, for example, are you going to open more stores, or are you going to start a licensing deal? And you have to be always on mind with them. Otherwise, you won't get an investment. The sixth thing is the call to action. This one is not that important in Shark Tank because that's always some boring sentences. They say like, who's got hungry or who's willing to invest. But imagine, whenever you do another pitch, for example, the guys today pitching later their business, no one of us here, or I think, or at least me not, is an investor. So they won't ask for money, but you can always ask for some things. For example, if you liked us, give us a like on Facebook or tell your friends how awesome we are. Always use this call to action because, yeah, if you don't do it, the people won't follow you on your social media platforms. But if you force them to do by saying, please, can you do this, it really helps. Yeah. Now we come to the Q&A. As I told before, after every pitch, there's a Q&A where you can get asked 100 or thousands of questions. There are some simple guidelines. Answer the questions short and simple. If you don't know a question, rather say, I don't know, then guess something or lie. If you guess, you could be lucky. If you guess terrible, you have a problem. Always have backup slides. For example, if you're allowed to bring a presentation, you bring your 7 to 10 slides about your pitch, and then there are some questions you always get asked. For example, at my business, everyone asks, because we have a business where people share their ideas online, and I every time get the question saying, yeah, but if I share my idea, someone will steal my idea. And I prepared a backup slide where 2 or 3 investors and very successful entrepreneurs say that the idea is only 5% and execution is 95%. So if you know you get asked some questions, better bring backup slides. And also very important, always know your numbers. One of the worst things an investor wants to see is when you say, I don't know how much sales I made the last month, or I don't know how expensive a new store would be for me. Okay. Now I brought some sample questions you always get asked, and I want you to show what they are trying to focus on. When you get asked about sales, so the typical sales numbers the investors want to know are your total sales and your year-to-year growth, meaning how much money did you make the last year and how much did it grow after the last 5 years. This is important because, for example, if you have a business which makes a profit of $20,000 each year, it's okay. But if you have a business that makes a profit of $2,000, $8,000, $16,000, $24,000, it's more willingly to increase in the future. So this is what they want to hear. This is the kind of business they're looking for. They also want to know how much of your own money you put in and what your operating margins are. Margin meaning something like if you sell products in worth of $1,000, how much of these $1,000 will directly go to your profit. And they also want to know how much you pay yourself. One of the German investors once said he don't likes it when a startup which isn't worth 5 million, the entrepreneur takes more than 1,500 euros a month. So sharks want you, when you work at a startup, to really work and not take out of all of the money, because they want all of the money to stay in the business, because with more money you have more to reinvest, more to do new marketing campaigns, so to grow your business faster. And they also want to know your annual earnings after taxes, meaning your profit, what you really profit on. And now we come back to what Emmanuel before calculated, right? That we have a business valuation of $400,000. To recap, we were seeking $60,000 investment for 15% value in our business. So we, for ourselves, say our business is worth $400,000. This is the part what we say. And then there's the side what the sharks see. And the sharks normally calculate your value. They take your yearly profit and multiply it with 3 to 4. This is the so-called multiple. The multiple is different from industry to industry. For example, at social media, it's much higher than for a normally restaurant. And they do the math. They say in your niche, your multiple is about 3.5. This multiplied with your annual profit equals 280,000. And now we combine this 280,000 with the 400,000, and we have a difference of 120,000. And this is the so-called gap. And this gap you need to defend yourself. And when you see a gap as big as this, you have 2 chances. First is you prepare yourself for a fight, Or the second thing is you get eaten alive by the sharks because they will never ever spend too much money on your business. But for sure there are some tricks how you can cross this gap. For example, if you have patents and copyrights, so saying I'm the only one allowed to do this and this will help me. This allows a certain part of a gap because no one can do the same as I do. For example, imagine we produce pizza for Spar and Hofer, two local retailers, and we also secured deals with 3 other big supermarkets for the next year. So this is a symbol that our business is going to explode over the next year. So this can also help us. What's even more important is what I told you before, the exponential growth, or for example, any unfair advantage, anything that really is an advantage for me that no one can copy. For example, if you have a business and I already own 80% of all the market share, this is an unfair advantage. Then you also can get asked from investors, so what do you bring to the table? There they want to know, is your team the right one to fit the job and has your team all the needed skills? There they want to know background information for you. For example, if you're starting an app, they like it. If you work 10 years in a corporate software engineering company, they like it much more than you say, I'm in the middle of my software engineering studies. They also might ask you for who's your competitor. In this case, they want to see if you did your market research right. Market research means looking at everything in the market, which business is my competitor and so on. And they also want to know how you outcompete them. To see that this is a little bit tricky, I give you an example. A big retailer in Austria, Hofer, who's the biggest competitor of Hofer in the next 5 years? It's not Spar, I think it will be Amazon, because Amazon already delivering products home. So you have to really keep an eye on how you do your research and what could be a competitor in the future. And then sometimes they also want to know things about going to market. And in this case, they want to see how big your market is, so how many customers are in your market and what are they willing to spend in a year, and then they want to know how much % of this you want to gain, and they also want to know how you can manage to attract customers. I know there are many other questions about how you can pitch an investor and especially what questions you can get, and I put you one side. Am I connected to the internet? Yeah?
I think so.
Okay, if not, I can show you. This is a simple site from the Y Combinator, and they invite each year a whole lot of startups, and they get sick of them not being able to answer their questions. And because of this, they created their own website. And all you can do is you start this website, and now I get asked a question. On the bottom left, it counts the time I needed to answer this, and then I still can push to the next question. And so you can also add your own questions. So I also attached this to your presentation. I think Michael will deliver it to you later. And so there are all the questions. I already came to the end of my presentation. All I want you to remember from this talk is we all can learn from Shark Tank. Me, for example, I study business economics, and I also watch each and every episode of Shark Tank because you see there are things you don't learn at school or you don't get somewhere else. Because really seeing how a negotiation between an investor and a startup can happen, you have to experience this anyway. And because no one of us is in the position that it says, I pitch 2 investors every day. So take a look at this. What's also important is each situation needs its own pitch. Remember who you're pitching to, know all about your customer group, and then put your pitch into the right direction to pitch. Always mind the valuation gap. When you go to an investment show or when you're asking for money, please don't ask for too much money if you can explain it. This will kill you. Because at these shows, when you're asking for $100,000, you also have to get at least $100,000 from the investors, otherwise you would be out.